What's up? Album's growing on me, y'all. Hi, hi, hi. Hello, how are you guys? Oh, what a song. Into panic back just. Okay. Does anybody actually want Morgan to win HOH? Like, that's the desired outcome? I like Morgan. I'd be happy with a Morgan win. But isn't this, like, time to root against Morgan? Root for, like, an Ashley? Ashley veto, isn't that what everyone's hoping for? It's like we all were rooting for Chelsea, or at least I was rooting for Chelsea, but I thought like a Rubina veto with the final four would have been awesome. You know? I think she actually ended up winning the HOH, Chelsea, so it didn't matter, but you know. But thank you, Kayla, for the 22 months. Katie for the 22. It is getting bigger. Tom with the 21. Tom, what the fuck is wrong with you? 21? Pathetic. Chewy for the 22. Jerry for the 22. Indow for the 22. Corin for the 22. See, that's how it's done, Tom. Understood? Nizer Bees, thank you for the 22 as well. I appreciate it. We want Morgan to win BB, but Ashley can win HOH and Morgan wins veto. No, 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 no. I want Morgan to win the veto. Here's what I really want is Vince to win the veto. Because I think there's almost no way that Vince gets evicted at this point. There's a way, right, of like, I don't know, Ashley HOH, Ava, or no, like Morgan HOH, Ava veto, or Ashley veto. Like, it's possible. But I think Vince having to not cut Morgan is what I want. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same with Chelsea. Like, I wanted MJ to win HOH and bring Chelsea to the end. So I want Vince to have as many opportunities as he can to cut Morgan and not do it. You don't think Ashley Ava would vote him out? No, they would if like they had the option. But that requires Vince not winning HOH or veto and Morgan not winning veto. Like, it's a lot of things, especially when they're the two best competitors by a lot. Wills, thanks for the 21 months, and Underbreast Sweat for the 17. My favorite username. Whoa, Martins with the 5 gifted subs, representing the 5 house guests still in the house for some fucking reason. Why did we do the veto on Thursday? Or we did it like what, Friday? We did veto Friday just to have the fucking normal eviction cycle, basically. It's like, for no reason. Anonymous gifting A-Dog, I appreciate it. But again, thank you, Martins, for the 5 gifted subs. You're approaching the 100. The 100 milestone. That's when you know you've made it. Check that off the bucket list. But I appreciate it, Martins. And I appreciate it, Anonymous. America, not sub to the channel. Crazy. Nasty work. I know the allegations about us are flying because I didn't go to the Dua Lipa concert. And I will not be addressing those today. They're trying to get Keanu to stay. Oh, man. If feeds come on, Keanu's still there. Oh, it'd be so good. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, at that point, we have become what we despise the most, right? We just love production interference, helping the favorites. That's not what we want. I tried to tell a casual about Cameron. They had no idea how gross he was. It's funny. I stopped doing that. I used to, like, I would never go into, like, the bad stuff with fans because it'd be weird. I don't want to talk personal shit like that. But, like, if people were like, oh, why were you targeting Cameron? I'd be like, oh, he actually, like, socially, he was not really liked in the house, and I'd go into it. And at this point, I just go like, yeah, you know, he was just an odd guy. I feel like it's weird to go so much harder. Not now, Cory. The Derek and Claire news is hard for me. It's so sad. And, like, I'm sure they're both doing well, and they're both super competent. Seems like a mean word, but I mean it positively in the context of, like, Big Brother alum. Like, they're functioning members of society who are going to succeed in whatever they do. But it's just sad. Like, 4 years is such a long time, putting aside the whole, like, nature of the relationship being linked through all these shows. And there's just a couple things I want to talk about. Obviously, Derek and Claire's business and Derek and Claire's business. I'm not going to talk about their relationship in any way. Just people's reaction to it, you know. Like, there's a couple layers of it that annoy me. I do understand that, like, for most people, reality TV showmances and couples and ship names and whatever, it's just entertainment, right? Like, they don't know any of these people. They don't know anyone who's in a similar situation. So, like, I understand treating it like entertainment. I'm not naive to that. It's essentially the tabloids, right? And I'm not saying someone's bad for liking celebrity gossip. But what I do think is weird is people being like, duh. I swear they had no chemistry. We saw this coming from a mile away. It's Hannah's turn now, /S. It's just things no one would ever say to anyone involved in the situation, or even to, like, your friends in normal life. Just don't be weird, is kind of the conclusion there. Also, there's a couple of people who are like, oh my God, why do you have to make a statement about this? It's not all about you. Just break up in private. That's just so fucking unrealistic and impractical. Like, real life exists. You are influencers, social media figures. Your relationship itself is like a social media entity. Like, what? You have to say something and make a statement. And, like, of course. Then there's people like, oh, the statement is AI. What do you want the statement to be? Like, people would have just kept speculating. That's the thing. It's like, just get it, say it, try to move on. It's the best thing you can do. So I wish them the best. Met both of them. They're both the best people. That's all. I don't even want to talk about it more. But and now there's a new Big Brother showmance apparently in the mix. How you feeling about the Cardinals? I fire the offensive coordinator and give Kyler Murray hormone injections. He needs to be taller. Vincent Morgan. I can't help but just have incredible amounts of sympathy for, you know, Vince's ex-girlfriend, I guess. I think what I struggle with in regards to Vincent Morgan is, like, what do they expect is going to happen when they leave the house? And I understand neither of them are fans to the degree that I am, America was, or Quinn, or Joseph even. Like, I just don't understand what they think the reaction or reception is going to be based on the information they've already received. Like, they've already gotten so many indications, I assume, in the diary room, by just the questions they're being asked, and also the zings and everything else, the letters, the videos. Like, you have to know it's over. Like, it seems like Vince is aware that the relationship is done, but do you expect to come out to, like, roaring applause and, like, celebration? And then it creates a second weird dynamic of like, now what happens when Morgan comes out to a good amount of support, mostly support, and Vince comes out to nothing but criticism? Which is like, at the end of the day, Vince does deserve more criticism than Morgan for what happened. But let's be honest, if the roles were reversed, I still think people would prefer Morgan to Vince. Right? It's like double fold. It's twofold, I guess, is the right way of saying it. So it's just kind of like, that's a tough foundation for a relationship, being like infidelity plus the fan base embracing one of you and not the other. Your whole thing is called the cheatmance. Like, I wish him the best. Like, I just want people to be happy. I hope everyone in the situation comes out better than they started. It's just like, it feels kind of miserable. Morgan would be dragged. Of course she would. I mean, women get it worse than men in general, but I still think like people just don't like Vince's personality is a big part of it. Right? Like, I think that is a factor that people are not considering. It's not just that he's cheating on his girlfriend, which is a big thing. So, like, as someone who came off the show, and obviously America and I were cheered on and supported and whatever, being on the other end of that would be tough. I think Blue and Jared, I don't think either of them had as much support, but, like, certainly Blue got more than Jared, and that didn't work out, and the Matt and Riley thing, I don't know if that even got off the ground. Like, I don't know. I think it's just weird. I think it's a weird dynamic, and I don't know what it's going to look like when they leave the house. It'll be interesting. I'm not going to say I'm going to enjoy watching it. It's going to be very uncomfortable. I'm not going to be doing a ton of commentary on it, but it is weird. Especially, you know, they get to the final two, Morgan wins unanimously. Like, we'll see, though. You never know. Would you be buds with Vince? I just don't think, I mean, probably not. Just not naturally. I don't think it'd be like some crazy thing off principle. I would never be friends with a cheater kind of thing. Generally, I wouldn't, but like, you know, it's not like I don't know this man. So I don't know. Probably not. I don't think we'd get along just based on him on the feeds. Where it's like you watch Quinn, and I knew Quinn and I'd be buds immediately. Do we get the Ashley X AmeriCorey link up? I'm sure we'll meet at some point. I mean, she's a law person. Why not? It'd be fun. I enjoyed her a lot on this season. Or I guess I'm enjoying her present tense on the season. I saw Morgan and Ashley talking about us on feeds. Vince chimed in. It was very sweet. It is very funny how, like, America and I are known for two things. Lump of Clay and the Amendments. That's it. They called the pressure cooker. That was in Cory and America season. Or was that in Jag season? Were they on the same season? Obviously, they just clipped the part talking about me and America. But then they were saying how they loved me and America and how Morgan made me... America molded me into the perfect boyfriend. Which I'm like, that's a funny thing for Morgan to say right now. But yeah. I cracked me up. I thought it was funny. And it was funny Vince chiming in to correct them to AmeriCorey after one of them said Cormerica. They've gotten so many BB history things wrong this season. I think my favorite was Keanu with Enzo being in the final two. And the shower. Right, the shower. But yeah, look, I'll be buds with whoever on the season wants to be friends, you know. I don't think anyone in the season has done unforgivable things. Right. Riley. Probably won't be friends with Riley. Seems unlikely. I mean, I can't be friends with Rachel, obviously. Didn't even get evicted, got eliminated. On principle, I can't be friends with her. Ashley said y'all are probably engaged right now. Ashley just says shit. That's why people love her. Oh, they went to Georgetown together. Interesting. I knew Ashley went to Georgetown. Didn't know Hannah did. I hope people aren't too hard on them. I just think people need to understand that, like, you're not really holding them accountable. Like, they'll be held accountable. You know what I mean? You're just making yourself feel better by shitting on people. Which is, like, probably shouldn't do it. In terms of problematic behavior, this is a pretty tame cast. Yeah, I mean, I'm always skeptical with how much they cut the feeds. But I do think this is the least problematic cast since at least, like, 23. And even, I think this is a pretty unproblematic cast. The fact that Riley's the worst is pretty good. And Riley's pretty bad, but, like, I don't know how much worse he is than other people we've had on previous seasons. Y'all fuck with Hassan in here. I like Hassan. I listen to Hassan a good amount. Whenever something happens politically, I'll pull up one of his YouTube VODs, basically. My thing with Hassan, I think I've said this before, is, like, I think the idea that a socialist can't be rich is stupid because, like, being a socialist doesn't mean you live in a socialist country. Like, it just doesn't exist that way. I do think the extent to which he's, like, a hype beast is a little bit incongruent with his worldview and makes him sometimes, like, difficult to empathize with him or, like, ascribe to his viewpoints. But, like, you know, there's bigger issues in the world. It's fine. I think he's good at what he does, which is, like, rambling about political topics for 10 hours a day. I think he's very talented. Isn't he pro-terrorist, or am I thinking of someone else? I think that is how some people would frame Hassan's pro-Palestine perspectives. I think that's how that is. You're thinking of the same person. I don't know if I would put those labels on him. So, also, I do empathize with him quite a bit, where he's in a place where, like, he's talking live for 10 hours a day. It's honestly amazing he doesn't say more shit that's problematic. But he also isn't able to, like, vet his information in real time. You know what I mean? He's reacting to news as it pops up, and he does his best to, like, sort out the good and bad stuff. But, you know, I think at times he's associated with people he shouldn't associate with. That's my political answer. America deserved 9/11. It's a great example of, like, it's a ridiculous comment to make. Like, there's really no way to justify it. But what he meant by it, I understand. And if it wasn't a live format, I don't think he says it that way. You know what I mean? Essentially, he was saying, like, the U.S.'s invasions and imperialist actions in the Middle East were, like, causal factors leading to the terrorist attacks, not only on September 11th, but, you know, beyond that. That's what he was saying, but, like, the way you said it was not that. So, you know. Yeah, and he's obviously since apologized, Hey Bub. This is not, like, I hope this is not something he would stand behind. I think he probably apologizes, then he's like, oh, but what I actually meant was blah, blah, blah. I respect people who own up to their mistakes and, like, actively try to not make them again. But, you know. All right, are you guys ready for the stream topic today? It's in honor of Keanu, who better be fucking evicted from the house. God, he better be evicted. We did the veto comp on Friday for no reason, seemingly, because today's the veto meeting. We think when feeds come on, we'll probably have one less house guest and one more HOH. So, today's topic idea, again, was inspired by Mr. Keanu, one of my favorites. And we're doing the top 10 underdogs in Big Brother history. Now, this list was slightly difficult to make, I must say, because how do you quantify what an underdog is? Who's an underdog? Well, there's no objective metric. This is not one of those things where it's like, ooh, if you were on the block this many times and bailed yourself out with this many competitions, or this is not purely subjective either. It's not saying, ooh, I was really rooting for this person, but they fell short. It's kind of a combination of the two. The circumstances in the game, in conjunction with how fun it was to root for you and how, like, much your underdog run influenced the season you were on. Now, there's a couple commonalities with the people on this list. A lot of them are comp beasts. Generally, if you're not a comp beast and you are an underdog, you'll be evicted. Now with BB26 and 27, the AI Arena, and the Blockbuster, underdogs have a lot more ability to make deeper runs in the game, which I think is a bad thing in general because it makes like underdog stories less impressive. But we will be talking about a few of these cases today. Not everyone is comp dependent. Some of my top picks won very few competitions. Would you consider any winners underdogs? Absolutely. If you were an underdog throughout the season who ended up winning, that improves your ranking as an underdog. Now, what happens to a lot of players is they have a rough start, and then they figure things out week 2 or 3, week 4, and then they're in a good position, and then they play a good game. To me, that's not as much of an underdog. You kind of need to be an underdog for a while. If you ever flip it into a dominant position at the final 9, then it's like, okay, you had a few rough weeks. Who cares? So, I'm going to go through some honorable mentions. I don't even say these are honorable mentions. These are more like people who I'm not including, who people might expect me to include. The one I forgot was ffwd, which I don't care. ffwd was an underdog. He has all the things that make him an underdog, but also he was bailed out by production a few times. Like, I forgot to add him. He would have been an honorable mention. So just, there's ffwd. Obviously. Okay. Let's go into the honorable mentions. This is the missed the cut. I've got Kelly. Now, Kelly's an interesting case. She saved herself from being evicted like 5 different times, literally via the Blockbuster. The week that Adrian's evicted, she's the target if she doesn't win. Week 1, she's very likely the target if she doesn't win the Blockbuster. When she's on the block next to Ava and Ashley or whoever it was, who was like 2 weeks ago. She literally needed to win the Blockbuster like 4 different times to save herself. Now, why is Kelly not in the list? She wasn't a very rootable underdog. I don't think people were really pulling for Kelly. Not to mention, she ended up getting 7th. And she didn't like operate like an underdog. Like she always like tried to be top dog. She's volunteering for the block every week. Like it wasn't like the whole house was against Kelly. It was like Kelly was against the whole house for seemingly no reason. And then she actually gets into a kind of good position and then gets evicted. It was just a weird one. She's not on the list. She is very similar to other people on the list, but like it just didn't feel like she belonged. Jag's not really close to the list, but he became too dominant too early in the season. He was an underdog, a legitimate underdog for a while, and then week 6 happened, and he was probably like the front runner at that point. So just, he was evicted. I guess that kind of makes him an underdog, but then when he's running the second half of the game, through competitions, mind you, he's just not an underdog at that point. But, you know, underdog until final 12-ish, which on BB25 was a long amount of days, but in the grand scheme of like the strategic game of the season, I don't think Jag fits. Don't even start with me, Anthony. Cameron, he just didn't make a deep enough run. I think he is a prototypical kind of underdog. He's at the bottom early because of his own actions, but, you know, he survives the votes in weeks 2 and 3, wins HOH week 4 when he's the target, wins the veto week 5 when he's the target, wins HOH week 6 when he's the target, gets evicted, comes back, wins HOH when he's the target. Like, he's the exact kind of underdog you'd expect to see on this list, but because he started so early and the cast was so big, he ends up getting 9th place. So I don't think his run is particularly impressive. So there's Cameron, not making the list. Rachel Riley. I think you guys forget how early she was out in season 12. Week 1, she was nominated. She survives the vote. Week 2, she wins HOH. She needed it. Week 4, she wins HOH. She needed it. And then she was evicted in week 5. So, like, that was the whole run. She was only there for 5 weeks, but she won 2 HOHs that she needed to win in that time. They were very clutch. She was the house pariah for basically the first half of the game. Rachel cannot be an underdog for season 13, Anthony, because she came in with a huge advantage and 5 allies, and her fiance who returned to the game. Like, there was too much going for Rachel to be an underdog. In my opinion, the underdogs of BB13 was all the newbies. She maybe became an underdog at the final 3, but she was also the best competitor at that stage. So Rachel, I think everyone thinks of as like a dominant underdog when, yeah, she was the first member of the jury, but like there was not that many people on the season 12 cast. So there's Rachel. Honestly, Brendan season 12 is probably more of an underdog, but he also doesn't make the list. So you could throw him in here. Evil Dick, I think this one goes without saying. Evil Dick was a house pariah the whole season, as was Danny. But like the most influential person in the house was forced to keep them safe over and over and over and over again. So it's like, this doesn't move me at all. But again, was the house pariah with his daughter, had a lot of comp wins to bail themselves out, got to the end, won the game. If you just forget about the Eric Stein of it all, Evil Dick would have a very captivating underdog story. Instead, it's just kind of like, oh, the dominant person ran the season and had to choose someone else to be the winner. But they did win a lot of competitions. In the end game, they balled out. Beating Zach in the final 3 was huge. So, there's Evil Dick. Here's Mackenzie. Now, Mackenzie's a weird case, I think. She's nominated week 3. She's immediately a social pariah. She's linked up to Matt. Obviously, Matt's a social pariah. She avoids the block the first couple weeks because you've got Angela there, you have Kenny there, you have Lisa there, you have people just to fill spots on the block. Week 3, Cedric's HOH, it catches up to her. She hits the block, but she had won the America's Veto Power night 1, so she's able to save herself there. Week 4, it's the Cedric eviction week. This is where she wins the AI arena to bail herself out. She was 100% going to be evicted against either Rubina or Cedric. And then week 6, she's on the block against Tucker when we all just assumed Tucker would for sure win that puzzle AI arena, which would doom Mackenzie again. And even if Angela ended up winning, we think Mackenzie goes against Tucker, but she bails herself out. And then that's kind of the problem, is like she is then in power for most of the season. She links up with Chelsea, she links up with Cam, and she's really not in danger at any point. She was nominated at the final 4, which doesn't even fucking count. So that's the problem with Mackenzie. Just wasn't an underdog long enough. She survived the early gauntlet, and then after that, there wasn't much. I do kind of put less points for like surviving via the Blockbuster AI arena. It's kind of arbitrary, but I think we all understand why I'm doing that. Like, it's unfair. She has way more opportunities to be an underdog. But yeah, she was I think the toughest cut, maybe the second toughest cut. The toughest cut, I think, for me, and this one I think people are going to be very upset about. There's going to be absolute calamity, Armageddon in the chat. Donnie Thompson. I love Donnie. He's nominated week 1, bails himself out with the veto. Nominated week 3, wins the battle of the block and the veto. Week 8, he's nominated again, wins the battle of the block. Throughout this whole early game, every one of his allies is targeted. Jacosta's targeted and evicted. Brittany's targeted and evicted. Even Pow Pow. Like, he's just losing everybody. It's just him. He needs all these clutch wins to bail himself out. The problem is, he doesn't win enough. Like, eventually he's just evicted in like an unceremonious 8th place. He never really had any chance to do anything. But he was one of the most rootable underdogs in the history of the show. It's just when you look at his resume compared to the other people who are fighting for this list, I just don't think he fits. But God, I mean, it's always nice when you have an underdog who knows what needs to be done. Like, he understood Derek was the problem. I don't know if he would have targeted Derek because of Team America, but hey, Derek and Frankie targeted him. So, Donnie just doesn't make the list. But in terms of the most rootable underdogs, he could be number 1 pretty easily. The season number's blocked. I could just move it here, maybe. 1 second. I'm trying to think, like, this is probably the best, right? All right, let's go on to the top 10. I got my notes over here. because it gets kind of complicated some of these seasons. Number 10, I have Jordan Lloyd, which I think some people might be surprised by. I think people forget the early stages of Big Brother 11 quite a bit. So she survives the week 2 vote. She's nominated early against Laura. Any Laura fans in chat? Anyone remember Laura? I don't know who Laura is, I'll be honest. You could show me 1,000 pictures. I would not be able to point out Laura. You're a big Laura guy, Bran? Laura was great? Oh. I'm glad. A lore head? Okay. Lore Masters. She was iconic. Okay. Well, there you go. Number 9, Laura. No, survives week 3 against Casey. Any Casey fans in chat? Come on, there's got to be some case heads, right? Any Casists? You guys remember Casey? Well, this Casey. Survives the block. So, again, weeks 2 and 3 on the block, survives, wins the double eviction HOH, survives a vote against Jeff week 8. Her entire side is decimated. Now she's being brought to the end with Kevin, with Michelle, with Natalie, with all these kinds of people. She obviously gets bailed out by the coup d'etat. Not her personally, but her side. She survives the vote against Michelle in week 9 at the final 4, gets them to bring her to the final 3, and then at the final 3, really where she gains this title is winning that final HOH, cutting Kevin, winning in the final 2. It's very similar to Rachel's win in BB13 with just less bullshit going on. Granted, they still had the coup d'etat, but I think that helped Jeff more than Jordan. Jordan still probably makes a pretty deep run. But just the type of player who was counted out early, pawned all the time, not really considered a threat in the game, is dragged a little bit too far, and the second they dragged her 1 week too far, she ends up winning some competitions and wins the season. Not enough to be any higher on the list, but I do think this whole run ending in a Jordan victory does get her a spot on the cast. Maybe he'll be on the list, Jen. We'll see. The whole Braden thing aside, yeah. We don't talk about that. All right. Number 9. Any predictions? Who do you guys got? Number 9. You got to think about someone who's more of an underdog than Jordan, but less of an underdog than 1 through 8. So just think that way, and you might be able to figure it out. Frank, no clue. Great effort, guys. Really good work. Robert. Number 9 is Steve Moses. Now, the reason Steve is not higher is because Steve had a little bit of control in the game. He really wasn't on the bottom for much of it, but he was on the bottom for a good amount of the game. So he's blindsided week 1, he's blindsided week 1, nominated week 1, bails himself out with the veto. I don't know if he's necessarily the target there, but you don't want to be on the block week 1. Nominated week 2, wins the battle of the block to save himself. Then he enters a chill mode. He finds his footing. He's chilling for a while. Week 7, wins the POV after being nominated by Becky, I believe. That was a very important one. That was the week where they were backdooring Vanessa, so he wasn't the target again, but considering how Vanessa ends up surviving that week, probably a good thing he won that veto. He wins the HOH at the double. That's where he gets rid of Meg, and everyone calls him a loser. Survives the week 9 vote against Johnny Mac. Wins week 11. Survives week 12 against Austin. That's the famous Austin walking out barefoot. Wins the final 4 HOH, wins final 3, and cuts Vanessa. So, essentially, I'm gonna watch your video later on Streamander. I already watched it, but I'll talk about it at the very least. He was very much in danger for the early stages of the game. Bails himself out with a couple of competition wins, Battle of the Block and the veto. Finds himself in a decent spot, but then he has this insurmountable force of Vanessa to get rid of at some stage, and is able to do it. He's able to play coy enough to get her to bring him way too far in the game, and he uses that trust and that loyalty to backstab her and win the game. So the problem with Steve is he was too good of a player. He wasn't reliant on competitions enough. He wasn't in danger enough to be anywhere higher on this list. Is more so a credit to him. But I think just by virtue of who Steve is and who his personality is and him cutting Vanessa and him being in trouble early, I do think he deserves to be on this list. And he had enough moments of adversity, Night Cheese, where I think even though he was in the majority alliance, I still think I would consider Steve big picture and underdog, if that makes sense. All right. Number 8, any predictions? If you predict right, you get a special prize that will be announced 5 years from now on this day. Yeah, he was at the bottom. Nicole Anthony, Felicia, Ian. All right, well, James Zinkin, some BB9 rep. Now I had to do some research because I remember James. I was a big fan of James. I don't know if I am anymore. But crazy James. Okay, let's talk about James. So he was nominated week 4 after his partner and him used the veto to save herself. He is evicted in week 4, which is like, well, that's not much of an underdog, Cory. Your guy was evicted week 4. Well, there's a twist. Pandora's box. The house guests got to either vote James back into the game. Hello, y'all. Either vote James back into the game, it's option 1, or vote a mystery house guest who's hiding in Pandora's box back into the game. One of the most batshit twists they ever did. I guess the house guests just chose the devil they know, brought James back in, and then James goes on a 3-week run, or really a 4-week run, to just secure himself this underdog status. So, week 5, he's the target. Classic case of guy comes right back in the house, is immediately targeted. He's nominated. Or rather, he's not nominated because he wins HOH and veto. Yeah, it was some other guy from that season. I forgot his name. Like Dan or Alex or something. But he wins HOH and veto immediately after coming back. Very Cameron Harden of him. Week 6, all right, he can't win HOH. He's nominated. Wins the veto. Bails himself out. Week 7, guess who the target is? James. And he is put on the block, and he wins the veto for a 3rd straight week to bail himself out a final time before losing the veto at the final 6 and being evicted. He goes from a week 4 evictee to 3 weeks of immunity before being evicted. So, like, he obviously goes on to win AFP. I think he's, like, the typical case of an underdog where, like, he was evicted, he comes back, wins a ton of competitions, everyone's targeting him. The only thing that can make the week interesting is James winning the veto, and he wins the veto. I don't remember much about BB9. I was very young, but the one thing I do remember was rooting for him. Which, now he reminds me of Rooster from 22 Jump Street. Remember the guy with the guy they suspected at first for being the dealer? They thought he had the bazooka tattoo. I need you guys to lock in. You guys remember? Okay. It ended up being Zook. You don't remember the orgies? I don't remember the orgies. I must admit I was 9 years old. So remembering the orgies would have been a problem, I think. Okay. Number 7. Any predictions? Is it another Big Brother 9 house guest? Am I reaching even deeper into my Big Brother bag? Probably not. It's possible.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, what's up?
You're saying Big Brother 9, the orgies, obviously. We were kids. I don't
You gotta be louder.
We were kids. I don't remember them either. But how funny is it thinking that production had to go through the BB9 orgies and they were like, okay, next season we gotta fix this. How do we fix this?
All
they
the
bring in
Christians.
Jerry. They bring in like Libra. They
Rennie.
bring Rennie.
Dan, who's like the heart alt-right
Literally,
Catholic.
they're like, this is how we solve that problem.
That is interesting. I never thought about that. I don't know. Mr. Pectacular, though?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, what do they call him?
The
Sherlock? Shirtless Sherlock?
I don't know.
All right, so number 7, we have... Yeah, they had April and Ollie. At 7, I have Janelle. Now, it's weird. You kind of think Janelle would be higher on this list. Like, she is, like, one of the most iconic underdogs in the series. But, like, her actual, like, resume... She wins a lot less than I remember. I think in some ways, she's a bigger underdog in Big Brother 7 than she is Big Brother 6. But in Big Brother 7, she had such a fucking advantage all season that, like, I can't call her an underdog. She came in with her, like, entire friend group. You know what I mean? Like, she literally came in the majority alliance and then dropped off for, I think you guys get the point. But week 2, she's nominated on the block next to her boo, Michael. Bails herself out, winning the veto. I assume Michael probably goes there, but it might be Janelle. She doesn't leave that to chance. Week 7, she wins the HOH. Her alliance is crumbling around her. She's sitting next to Kaser on the block, and he's getting evicted twice. Like, she's just losing numbers this entire time. Week 8, April uses the veto on her after nominating her in order to backdoor James. So, she's on the block, but comes off. And then week 9, she wins the veto. Desperately needed that veto to survive. Week 10, wins HOH. Desperately needed that HOH to survive. And then it kind of fizzles from that point on. Final 3, obviously, she loses to both of them and gets 3rd place. So, like, the reason why Janelle is here is because I think she is one of the most iconic underdogs in the show's history. She did win a couple of very crucial competitions when she needed to. When she won those competitions, she was extremely performative. Sounds negative, but, like, she made those moments extremely memorable. If you remember her winning the hockey comp, her obviously, winning the double eviction. But there actually wasn't that much there. Like, they just voted out all of her allies before her. They voted out Kaser twice instead of Janelle. They voted out Michael. They voted out Howie. I think that was because of competition. They also voted out James before her. So it's just kind of like, I don't know how much to credit Janelle for that. We know it's not like Janelle's great social game, getting people to vote, other people out next to her on the block. So I think this underdog run is much more memorable than it is impressive from the standpoint of being an underdog, if that makes sense. And then she proceeds to be an underdog in every other season she competes in, which is why I think she has that reputation. Season 14, maybe it doesn't feel as underdog coded because of, the coaches. But by the end, she was an underdog, for sure. I don't have too much more to say about Janelle. We know who she is. We know what she represents. That's Janelle. Any predictions for number 6? Because I think Janelle is the last person on this list that's a little bit like, all right, kind of impressive. I've seen better. Everyone from this point on, pretty good. Tyler and BB27. At number 6, I've got Keanu. Now, here's the thing. You got to keep in mind how Keanu started this season. And a lot of people can say, oh, Keanu, he had the blockbuster. He barely used the blockbusters till the end. It really isn't recency bias. Let me walk you guys through it, okay? Let me walk you guys through it. Week 1, he is this close to being backdoored, evicted. Rachel saves him, essentially. Which, again, not much credit to Keanu there. But week 1, he's a target. He's targeted week 2, and this is where he wins the veto, or more aptly, Casey wins the veto to save him. Then he's targeted week 3, wins the veto. Uh-oh. What do you guys think happened week 4? Any predictions? Yep, he's targeted, wins the veto. So he goes back to back to back, the three-peat. Targeted week 5. This is when he's on the block against Zach and Vince, and he wins the blockbuster. So this is now 4 weeks in a row he has saved himself with a competition, if you count Casey. Then he finally kind of settles into the house. After surviving the gauntlet of weeks 1 through 5, no one's gunning for him as directly anymore. He's chilling for a little bit. Wins an HOH week 8, which he did need that HOH. He was going to be targeted. But after he loses his immunity in week 8, week 9, saves himself with the blockbuster. He needed to win the blockbuster or he was being evicted. He's targeted week 10, somehow survives that vote. We just watched it happen. I still think it was ridiculous keeping Keanu there, but to each their own, he stays. And then, double eviction. He's the target. He loses the HOH competition. The veto is in a booth, and he wins that one too, to send himself to the final 5, where, theoretically, right now, he's getting evicted. So really, when you look at what Keanu's underdog resume is, it's Okay, he's a house target from week 1, wins immunity to save himself when he otherwise would have been evicted weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 9, and 11. Like, his resume is ridiculous. Now, why is he not higher on this list? BB27 has a blockbuster. And, like, he should have been evicted week 5. But it's a mechanic in the game now, and he used it. Let him survive a lot more weeks. Got him to win an HOH. Got him to win a couple more vetoes. Social game is terrible, but, all these people's social games, for the most part, are terrible. Give or take 1 or 2. So I do think Keanu is significantly more of an underdog than Kelly. And I think just looking at him and Janelle saved herself once or twice. Keanu, 7 times. So it's credit to Keanu. He got 1 HOH. He got the week 8 HOH where he was debating if he should backdoor Rachel. Then didn't. All right. Top 5, baby. Any predictions? Do you guys agree with me? I didn't overrate Keanu. This is not recency bias. Derek Levasseur. In today's society, honestly. Alyssa. I'll be honest, I did not put Alyssa because, the audience kept voting for her to have a, I just thought that was stupid. You can't be the underdog when everyone's just giving you powers. Okay. Number 5, Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac has quite the adventure. I think he might have the record for most times nominated. I think he's tied, maybe second place. Obviously, he's on a Battle of the Block season. So he's nominated week 1, wins Battle of the Block. He's nominated week 2, he wins the veto. He's nominated week 3, he wins the veto. He's nominated weeks 4 and 8, has to survive those votes. Nominated week 9, evicted. Still, a good run. Then there's a battle back on day 78. He wins that. He's the target week 12. He wins the veto. Finally is evicted day 89 in 4th place after being nominated 9 times. And he's very different from a Felicia or a Spencer or an Adam. These kinds of players who are nominated so many times because they were viewed as non-factors in the game. Johnny Mac was in some ways viewed as not the most relevant strategic player, but he was always a concern and a threat that had to be dealt with. Someone who could win in the end, who had a good shot of winning to the end if he got there. But he just kept winning. He kept winning, and when he didn't win, he was on the block next to someone he could survive against. And when he couldn't survive against the person he was next to, he would get evicted and then come back. So I think what makes BB17 such a fun season is you have Steve and Johnny Mac, these underdogs who do a really good job. And the player who's dominating everything, Vanessa, is one of the most fun, dominant players of all time. Which is why I think BB17's one of my favorite seasons ever. He could not get an HOH to save his life. Would have been helpful, for sure. But I think the Johnny Mac versus Keanu is pretty simple. It's Keanu survived through somewhat more bullshit mechanisms. Johnny Mac won a battle back as well, but is a battle back less bullshit than Blockbuster? I don't know. Pretty similar to me. And, he also was competing against some absolute gunners. BB17 has a lot of good competitors, and he was still pulling these out. So that's Johnny Mac, the final BB17 house guest on this list. Does anyone have a prediction for number 4? We're really getting down to the heavy hitters. And no, I'm not going to pick Jimmy for number 4. Or Morgan, or Rachel, or Zach, or Vince. At number 4, this is interesting because a lot of people, I don't think, even perceive this person as an underdog because they remember how dominant they were one season later. Paul, on season 18, was one hell of an underdog. I mean, where do I start? So week 1, first of all, nominated. Saves themselves week 1 with the veto, and then is blindsided by the vote. Okay, that's not good. Week 2, back on the block against their best friend Victor. Victor's evicted. All right, rough. Survives the vote week 3 against Bronte and Tiffany. Perennial pawn. And Paul's a weird perennial pawn, like a huge personality, obviously not the best game player at this point, but like an active player, and people know that they're a concern. And after surviving week 3, they find a little bit of stability. They're vibing for just a little bit. Week 6, wins HOH. Week 9, back on the block, wins another veto to save themselves. I believe that is the weather veto that they studied for all night, if y'all remember that. I think it's one of the more iconic clutch veto wins. Survives week 10 vote against Big Meech, which is always so impressive when players like Paul or even Keanu survive votes at this point in the game. Week 12 survives another vote, this time against Victor. Not as impressive because Victor just keeps coming back and kind of bailing Paul out. And then all of a sudden it's like, shit, we let Paul get to the final 5 and essentially they win out. Wins HOH and POV at 4, wins final HOH, takes Nicole, and loses by 1 vote. Now, Victor's not on this list. Victor very well could be on this list. I would understand it. I just think he's kind of weird to evaluate. Like, he is an underdog, but he's also the big, strong guy who kept getting evicted and coming back and winning HOHs. Like, he didn't feel, in my opinion, as much of an underdog as Paul. But that's very subjective, and, like, I understand the argument for Victor. I don't think that's ridiculous by any means. I just think Paul like fits that mold much better. And not to mention, Paul goes on a better run, has a better season. And I think it's funny how like the underdog then goes on to BB19 and plays whatever the opposite of an underdog game is. The ultimate overdog, if it were. So that's Paul. Didn't see anyone mention Paul. I feel like Paul's a pretty obvious one for this list. But now we're at the top 3, and this is the big 3. I don't think anyone is close to cracking this top 3. I think these are 3 of the more iconic figures in Big Brother history. But let's see. Who do y'all have? Katie puts the chip on Ian. Jerry says Dr. Will. Bran says Derek X. Frankie. Number 3 is Taylor Hale. All right, Taylor, what do you got? I mean, obviously this is quite fresh in a lot of our memories. Week 1, Taylor is nominated, is the target, is going to be evicted. There's all the backstage boss coming on, but she has a great chance of being gone. Eviction gets canceled because of Paloma's ejection, or her leaving, or I don't know, what would you even call it? Week 2, back on the block, is the target. House flips. Pooch is evicted. Week 4, survives the block again against Nicole. The difference between Taylor and, again, like a Victoria or an Adam or a Spencer is like Taylor's playing the game. It really is her social work that's saving her in a lot of cases. And if not, it's other people's strategic work, right? It's not just like she's the pawn. Week 6, she wins HOH, but that's very short-lived because she's back on the block. Week 8, survives against Kyle. Week 10, she's back on the block, survives against Alyssa, wins the final 4 HOH, loses the final 3 HOH, and is still brought to the end and wins. And of course, Taylor's story is much more than just like the numbers, the comps she won, who she survived against. She was the underdog in that house from day one from like a purely social standpoint. People just like cast her out so early. She was a pariah early, and like pulling yourself out from that spot to be like a beloved winner who gets most of the jury's votes is incredibly impressive. Not to mention how many times she survived the block. And again, I'm giving her more credit for like surviving the block than I would some other perennial pawns in Big Brother history. Now, why is she not higher on this list? Well, I don't think all of her underdog moments, her moments of survival, are her own doing. A lot of what happens on BB24 is like circumstances outside of Taylor's control. I don't really blame her for that. Like, how would she have agency in these situations? But like the leftovers forming, taking charge of the game, she's in that power structure for a while. She's really not in danger. And then people are starting to put her up because she just, like, is the person who's being put up. So, like, Taylor, I don't think, is as active in, like, fighting for her spot in the house as the top two. But, you know, number 3, there's no shame in that. And, yeah, the story is really what elevates Taylor's game. If you want to put her 1, I get it. I just think top 2 have a slightly stronger case. Now, top 2, who is it? Who is it? People still saying Ian. What if I say I didn't even include Ian on the list? Number 2, Dr. Will Kirby. Now, look, Big Brother 2 is a whole different game, but Dr. Will was the original underdog, and he's one of the most impressive underdogs ever. Blindsided week 1, as is all of Chilltown. Survives the block against Shannon week 3, loses his Showmance. Boogie, his best friend, evicted week 4. He's truly alone in the house. Then he's on the block week 5, survives against Kent. Back on the block week 7, survives against Bunky. Back on the block at the final 3, survives against Monica, wins the season. He had no allies. He was just trying to figure things out as the season went on. He was always on the bottom, always on the block. Very comfortable on the block, comfortable on the bottom. That's what made him such a good character. But he truly had no right in winning BB2, especially in a season without the veto. He didn't have access to the blockbuster to save himself. It was all social, a little bit of strategic, and ultimately it was just Dr. Will understanding the game before anyone else did, which is what allowed him to make this run. And then he comes back on BB7, and, like, honestly, that's a pretty good underdog run, too. The problem is he flips the script too early. Him and Boogie take control of the game at around the final 9, final 8. And it's like, well, shit, he can't be the underdog anymore. So I think you could make a case for him in BB7. He comes in as probably the biggest target. Him and Boogie, but especially him. He's on the block many times. Never wins a competition. Always survives against people who he has no right surviving against. But that's Will. I think a very deserving runner-up on this list. Now, number 1, I think this is one of the simplest. Like when I was making this list, I thought it was so obvious who would be number 1. Genuinely, there was, like, no ambiguity. It's Ian. I think Ian is the face of Underdog in Big Brother history. Whenever I see someone going on a late game comp run, that's Ian. So let's talk about it, because he starts off very rough socially, is able to survive those early weeks, but it's a bad start. He's not necessarily a social pariah, but he's kind of on the outskirts of everything. No one loves him. Then he flips against Boogie. And then he goes on a historic run. And this all kind of has to be put in the context of, like, it's a coach's season, and he's going up against, first of all, Mike Boogie, who he flips on, gets rid of, kind of puts himself in a horrible position. And now he's going up against Dan for the rest of the game, honestly, without really knowing it. He's going up against Frank for a while, which kind of further makes him feel like an underdog. But let's talk through these specifics. Week 6, right after flipping, wins HOH. He needed that. There's a lot of people targeting him. Week 7, that's where he gets his golden ball. Needed that one too. Week 8, so he wins the HOH. Then in the next part of the double, he's being targeted at the final 6, wins the veto. Or I believe it's the final 5? Final 6? Point is, he wins HOH at the first stage, wins the veto the second phase. Needed both of them. Week 9, he wins HOH again. So again, we went week 6 HOH, week 7 veto, week 8 HOH, week 8 double veto, week 9 HOH. Then he gets another HOH at the final 5. Very important to win that one as well. Week 11 is the one week he's not safe. That's when Dan evicts Shane, to the shock of everybody. Goes to the final 3. I think he needs to win there. I know Dan says he would have taken Ian. It seems very dicey to me. He ends up winning the final 3 HOH. Cuts Danielle, who I think he would have lost to, takes Dan, who obviously he beats. So, Ian, from the final, I believe, 9, wins out just the final 4, not included. And I think, again, the context of he's sitting in the final 2 chairs against Dan. He's going up against Boogie. He's going up against Frank. It's one hell of a group of competitors, too. Danielle was a really good competitor. Shane was a great competitor. Dan's a great competitor. Obviously, Frank. Janelle was there for a while. Like, he's beating really good people. I thought Danielle was going to beat just about everybody. I thought. But it might have been like Danielle beats Dan, and then Ian beats Danielle. I'm not exactly certain. Brittany's there. Yeah, but I don't think Brittany, in my mind, comes off as like as menacing of a competitor, you know? So that's it. That's the list. Nicole Anthony was someone I considered. I just don't think she was like relevant enough in the season for a lot of it. Like, she had that big comics win she needed, but outside of that, like, she doesn't even pull it off in the end. So I just think like that wasn't that hard. Cliff was another one I considered, but I think Cliff again has a little bit too much agency in the second half of the game. He's not bailing himself out with comps that much or votes. Again, he's kind of a victim of playing too good of a game. All right, Ander, could you post the link to your video in the thing? We're not going to watch it, but I want to skip through because there were some thoughts I had. First of all, great job. Very fun. And I had a couple notes. And I'm not here to yuck anyone's yums. Never said that in my life. But I'm not here to, like, tear down America's game. There's no reason to do that, right? But there were, like, 2 quotes that you had that pissed me off. And we'll get into them. And, yeah, we're going to do a Terran's BB27 poll after that. So anyone who doesn't want the dreadful, terrifying BB25 talk, now is your escape. Your opportunity for escape, rather. Happy Rosh Hashanah, thank you. My mom was like, so you don't have school, right? I'm like, as if. You can respond in chat, Andrew. Not a problem. Did I freeze? What happened? Why are we getting uh-ohs? All right. I'm good. Okay. Let's pull it up. So, the free woman, how America Lopez didn't win Big Brother 25 and why it didn't deserve her. This first half of the title is mad hater energy. All right. So, let me bring up my first critique, which is I think you should have emphasized more how much danger America was in at the start of the game. I feel like you make it sound like she was maneuvering very well and socially she was playing the middle, and as if every single week she wasn't on like a knife's edge of going home. And it's like not, I understand you're trying to like make her game seem better whenever you can, but like I think that is part of what made America so rootable and what made her story as fun as it was. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she had like very uneventful weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6. You know? So I think that's one part that I think should have gotten more focus. Like, you don't have to give me credit for saving her or give Cameron credit for not putting her up, or like, I think it wasn't made clear enough just how screwed she was so early and how close she was to getting evicted so many different times. And then the other thing, and this is my genuine criticism, and I'm pissed about this. Let me see if I can find it. You guys can't hear this, right? I want you guys to be able to hear it. Yeah, 1 second.
To know it.
Can you guys hear now?
Turned on her. Cory used the language of facts and logic on them to try to save himself, when America cursed them out.
Literally off.
She was almost ready to give up her spot, thinking she...
All right, so let's hear this.
Cory and America. That marked the end of the game as America used to know it. Jag and Matt completely turned on her. Cory used the language of facts and logic on them to try to save himself, while America cursed them out.
Literally off.
She was almost ready to give up her spot, thinking she had completely ruined Cory's chances at winning by being the star of the show that everyone had their eyes on, and so, well, that's why everyone had their eyes on her. But as luck would have it, America's campaigning was actually more successful, so Cory's years of debate preparations compared to America's natural charisma allowed her to prevail in this situation, and by
That's not what happened. That's not what happened. That's fiction. What are you talking about? America out-campaigned me. You could say her campaign was broadly more successful because she stayed and I didn't. Come on. Really? She told the HOH to go fuck himself. That's funny. I like that campaign more than my campaign. But I actually campaigned. In some ways, you could say, like, doing less is doing more. Like, she was in the better position, so obviously she shouldn't do anything crazy. But it pissed me off when they were like, when you were like, Ander, you're like, you know, Cory's debate skills didn't work. It's like, no, I was just considered to be the bigger comp threat. Like, that's, like, we all know, like, that's what happened. The natural charisma, she told the HOH to fuck himself. Like, this is not...
Literally fuck off.
Again, it's a great campaign. Awesome campaign. It wasn't a good campaign. But that was the part that... And I did listen to the whole thing. I watched it. I really enjoyed the video. But I was like, what do you mean my campaign failed? It was basically just for fun. Of course she has natural charisma, but I don't think that worked on Matt Klotz. Felicia Cannon. And nothing America could have done to gotten evicted either. Exactly. Like, if America goes up and is, like, spewing vitriol at Matt and Jag and Bowie and calling Suri names, it doesn't change anything. It did come closer to succeeding than it had any right to, but even that being said, it still had nothing. It still had no chance. He told her about Suri playing Path to Power. What are you talking about? Are you talking like way earlier? Yeah, that was good. I'm not saying America didn't do like good things in the game. She did a ton of great things. But in the campaign, I don't think that's where it manifested. Felicia not even entertaining your campaign still cracks me up. Just to be honest, there was no reason to keep me over America. That didn't make sense. The thing that Felicia screwed up is like, she should have done my plan just to get rid of Bowie. To get Bowie away from Matt and Jag, and then voted me out anyways, kept America. That was her mistake. She shouldn't have kept me. Keeping me does nothing. Because the problem is, like, okay, I win an HOH to get rid of Jag, then what? Because Felicia and Suri can't beat me in anything either. Not because I'm good, but, like, there's levels to this. If Blue was there, Suri and Felicia couldn't beat Blue in anything. America beats Suri and Felicia in just about everything. So, like, you have to get rid of all the comp beasts. Saving one comp beast to get rid of another, and I'm not even a comp beast, but you know what I mean, relative to them. But okay, let me pull up the live feed poll. The roundtable poll, rather. We'll knock that out and then get offline, so you guys can go watch that. Andrew, you don't have to explain anything. Like, this video is really fun. I really enjoyed watching it. I'll have America watch it later. She gets kind of embarrassed and shy, so she probably won't watch the whole thing. But yeah, that was the one part that I was just that got me going. But seriously, super good job. I hope you had a good time making it. I certainly had a good time watching it. I watched it on the treadmill, and I got heated and started running faster. Oh, she's here. I'm talking about the documentary that person made. I said only glowing positive things. Yeah. No, I was there's one part of the video, America. Yeah. Pissed me off. I think I might have told you about this already.
You told me about it.
The campaign.
Yeah.
America her natural charisma made her run a better campaign than Cory's debate skills. She said Jag to fuck himself.
You did? Yeah. It's so funny because I didn't even get back. I've talked about this before or whatever, but I didn't even get back to the bedroom yet. Like, after I told him to fuck off. I hadn't even sat down on the bed when Felicia came up, and she's like, you can't be telling people to fuck off. And she starts laughing, and I start laughing, and I'm like, I know.
I think I remember that.
Literally, but it was
What were you telling me, or did it come out somewhere?
it was on feed.
I just remember Jag coming up to me being like, make her stop. No more of that. Okay. Rating each player strictly on game.
It was bad.
Okay. This should be pretty easy. So, Ashley. So, how am I doing this, right? I'm doing it by, like, odds to win. I'm not, like, evaluating them as players. That's, like, the... Because if it's actually pretty easy. Like, Morgan's, like, a 9. Vince is, like, a 2. Ava's, like, a 3. Ashley's, like, a 4. Like, that's really what it is. Like, Morgan is such an odds-on favorite to win. If it's, like, taking more into account other things, like, you could put Ashley as a 5, Ava as a 2, Vince is, like, a this maybe. But, like, Ashley might have a lesser chance of winning than Ava, too. I think Ava... I mean, I think Ava has a better shot. I think you guys are underestimating Ava's jury chances. I think Ava does beat Vince, yeah. I think Vince can't win against anybody. I just don't think he'll ever get Keanu's vote. I don't think he'll get Will or Rachel or any of them against Ava or Ashley. I don't think he'll get Morgan if he ends up having to cut Morgan. I think Vince literally can't get votes. I think if Vince cuts Morgan, he at the very least loses Morgan's vote, which is like, okay, you lose Morgan, you still don't have Rachel and Will. Ava probably still votes for Ashley. Ashley still votes for Ava. Like, you watch live feeds, Ashley is goated. We're talking about chances of winning the game. And Morgan has, like, literally 80% of the win equity at this point. I think this would be my rankings. And, like, the only reason Morgan's not higher is because the Final Four veto exists, which she is more than likely to win. And if she doesn't win, Vince will win. But, like, theoretically, someone else could win and she's evicted, you know? But I think Ava's higher than Vince because I think if Ava gets to the end, she could win. I don't think Vince can. Morgan being a 10 would be fine. I wouldn't be against that. Also, Kelly's never voting for Vince, right? Rank the players from favorite to least favorite. Yeah, that's my list. How do you guys feel? Morgan is giving Chelsea. Chelsea's a lot better than Morgan. But I think in terms of how, like, likely their win was, yeah, at this stage of the game. But, like, Chelsea was not in danger from the final 8 on, final 9 on, honestly. Morgan just kind of got to the... She could have gone to the double eviction. Who are you voting for AFP? Rachel. I mean, this poll, Rachel's going to get, like, 90% of the vote, and Keanu's going to get 90% of the actual vote, but it's fine. Right, the episodes this week. I actually did watch the episodes. I don't know. It's Big Brother. The Morgan and Vince stuff was good. Yeah, I think it was good. The feeds this week. It depends if they're counting the final 7 and 6 stuff, because that's like this week technically. But like, I don't care. Season as a whole, I don't want to. Yeah, feature 5. Season as a whole. I think it's a great season. People on the Live Feed Updates comments were like talking about how, oh my God, Cory wants to be on the show so bad again. That's why he's talking up the shit season. I'm like, I've said more negative things about CBS and their producers than just about anyone, give or take a Zach Rants. Will Morgan rank among winners? Probably like 14th, 15th, 16th, something like that. I think anyone else would be easily like 20th or worse. Ava and Vince would be like bottom 5 winners, and Ashley would be like 19th or 20th. They haven't seen your takes on BB26. Yeah, BB26 was terrible. I'm sorry. Morgan's double eviction HOH reign. So what did she do? She got rid of Lauren. She did perfect. She put up Keanu and got rid of Lauren. What do you mean? Vince's final 5 HOH reign.
Literally, fuck off.
Getting rid of Keanu. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong here, really. Thank you, Apricot Princess. I appreciate it. Thanks for the prime. Hope you're doing well. Rate production, how well they're running the show. Was Lauren the right target for Morgan? I think Keanu probably was, but he won the veto. Was Keanu the right target for Vince? No, I think he had to target Morgan, but he was never going to do that. Who do you want to be evicted at the final 4? At 4, who do I want evicted? I mean, honestly, I feel like my answer is Morgan because I really want Ashley to win. Probably just Ava. I don't want Ava in the final 3. Like, Ava winning is the nightmare scenario I'm trying to avoid. Who do you want to win the game? I think Ashley. Morgan would be great, though. I don't mind. Who do you think? Morgan. Okay. Who do you think each juror votes for? Oh, God, this is getting complicated. Okay. Rachel. Morgan versus Vince. Morgan. Morgan versus Ashley. Ashley. Morgan versus Ava. Morgan. Ashley. God, they have different scenarios. Ashley versus Vince if Ashley cuts Morgan. Ashley.
Literally, fuck off.
Ashley. Okay, now Vince versus Ava. If Vince cuts Morgan. I think she votes Vince there. I think she does have a decent amount of respect. And then if Ava cuts Morgan, I think Ava. Thank you, Kenzie. I appreciate it. Will votes. Well, Will thinks pretty highly of Vince's game, but enough information will funnel out. Ashley. Ava. Ashley. I could see Will voting for Morgan over Ava, to be honest, but I don't know. I think based on what we know, you have to guess Ava. Ashley versus Vince. I just think he'd vote for Ashley against anyone. I know they said Ava over Ashley, but I just think I'm just choosing to believe he'll vote Ashley. Vince versus Ava. I think it's just Ava and Ava. Okay. Kelly. Morgan. No, this is Ava, obviously. Ashley versus Vince. I don't think he's gonna vote for Vince. I think has potential to be one of the most bitter jurors of all time. So Lauren's gonna vote for Ava over anyone, I think. No, this goes to Vince. Nah, Lauren could vote for Vince against a lot of people. And then these are probably... I think she still votes Morgan. I'm getting so confused. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. Keanu is going to vote for Morgan. Ashley. I don't think he'll vote for Ava. I feel like they have no relationship at all. But again, I'm not going to act like the expert. Lauren 1,000% votes Ava over Morgan. I get that. I just... I don't know. This is what my gut said. Oh, now we have to do Ava's votes. Oh, I'm going to kill myself. Ava. Morgan. Ashley. No, she hates Ashley. I don't know. Morgan versus Ava. She'd probably vote for herself. Ashley versus Vince. Ashley. Not applicable. Not applicable. Not applicable. Not applicable. Okay. Ashley votes for Morgan. Morgan. Almost done. Vince versus Ava. Vince. Probably is going to vote for Morgan, don't y'all think? Ashley versus Ava. If Ava cuts Morgan, I think he votes Ava over Ashley in any scenario. And then Morgan versus Vince. Morgan is going to beat everyone and everything. Ashley versus Vince. If Ashley cuts Morgan, she votes Vince. Ashley versus Vince. If Vince cuts Morgan, she votes Ashley. Ashley versus Ava. If Ava cuts Morgan, she goes Ashley. I think she'll be bitter to whoever cuts her. Vince versus Ava. If Vince cuts Morgan, and then Vince. Okay. Jesus. Never do that again, Taryn. Oh my God. Well, I thought I was just going to do a fun little stream, not a fucking homework assignment. But that'll do it. Fun little stream. Went a little bit longer than I expected. I have to get offline. I'm occupying my living room right now.
You're fine. You know you're fine. It's very no rush. Please.
Don't believe them.
Please, shake your dreads.
Thank you, Anonymous, for the 5 gifted subs. Maybe I will stay on. I got permission. But I appreciate it, Anonymous. Hope you're doing well.
Literally, fuck off.
Way to end off the stream. We got so many subs today. We're just back up to 215. I guess today was a losing subs day.
Literally, fuck off.
BB Can 5 tonight. We're going to wait for Victoria to leave. I believe it's Tuesday, right?
She just extended her ticket.
So we're going to watch Big Brother Canada 5 in 2036. Look forward to it. But yeah, we'll be live on Patreon Thursday after the eviction. Yeah, that'd be the plan.
Literally, fuck off.
We're going to post our discussion about Dexter once we finish that show. We're very close. I think we'll post something about America talking about the Hunger Games series after she finishes Mockingjay. She just watched Hunger Games and Catching Fire. We got to watch Glee. We got to get back on it. There's a lot of things we got to do.
Did you send yourself?
But anyways, I appreciate you guys, and you will hear from me